Hey everyone, this is Tracy with Color Me This. I am in the middle of Mother's Day week with my mom, coloring with the Bonny Snowdon Colored Pencils Week event, which has been very fun. I'm glad that she wanted to do it. She is having a ball. And so I am working on the next episode. Gonna go here and see what episode we're on because I have lost track. I hope everyone is doing very well and having a good coloring week. We have nice sunny weather. We're in the 90s today. We had our first heavy rain. It dumped 4 inches of rain in some number of hours, and we had our Lake Lewis out in the back, and that is all dried up. We are on episode 427, and today I do want to break in Tiny Tales. I have the rest of my pencils for the end of our rotation number 8, and Derwent Drawing, I believe, is used. I need to mark it as used. And then I have Prang 50, Brute Funer Flower Boxes, Amazon Basics, and those 3 are a great set of 3 pencils to play with in Tiny Tales. So for Tiny Tales, I want to just talk about the book. It is awfully small, so there's going to be spine challenges, of course, for me being, now that I'm getting used to coloring in a coloring book, I see it as a challenge to work through. Because this is definitely a practice type book, I might go ahead and use a clip up here to hold this open. I also drug this cutting board thing, which actually came from some deli meat packaging years ago. I have a couple of them, so I went and grabbed those to see if they would fit. And look, it fits nicely, so I plan on using it for a nice hard surface to color on because this is very soft paper. And we will get to test out our papers today. I thought I would play with this page right here just because it looks fun and different. It is unlike anything I have colored before. So I'm going to go away for just a second so that I can get a clip, and then we'll get started. All right, let's put this together. So here's my coasters that I have floating around my desk that I have. They're felt, and I cut this one up into pieces. So let's find my page here. Is this page. I could clip like this. Now there's not a lot of extra room, so I toyed with getting this all pre-set up without you guys, but think that I have been told this is kind of interesting for everyone. So you can see that, here, let's move this over right onto the center. And that might work. Already I have a fold in the paper. This is a very soft paper. So probably if I don't do, maybe I'll work on the plants first. I'm going to tilt. I'm going to angle you guys. Now I'm going to bring you down. We are going to start with the prangs. So I have my class prangs here, which is an open, here, I'll bring it up so you can see what many of you might not have seen. So I did invest in one of these. It's a 3-ring binder. I would have loved to have bought these for all of my sets for the student pencils, but these are over $7 per. What I ended up doing is a similar thing using Velcro removable single. I think each one holds 20, I mean, each one will hold 48. So I bought those in a pencil holder from Temu, and it ends up being $2.38 per elastic band keeper, and it folds over. And that has worked really well. So I'm glad I did not invest in this more expensive solution. So we are going to start with this cute plant display. And I am going to just grab, let's do a red. We're going to do a red blend on those roses. And then we will do yellow on the pom-poms. I have my own little numbers on my class pencils. 1 is which set number. I own 15 sets. I actually had 16, maybe even 17, but one of them I sold to my mom's friend who visited here in March, and she was going to be gone for a month, so I sold her a set so she could color on the road. She went ahead and bought the Small Victories book as well and had it shipped to my mom's house. So I'm grabbing a few greens to play with. So we've got these 3 greens, and we'll just get started. And then I'll figure out my vase colors later. So it has been very busy. I am still going to do the Fragile Worlds sea turtle things with my mom. Kind of took over. So I'm focused on that, but I did want to get some time this week in this book. Tiny Tales. RJ Hampson sent out a monthly, I'm a subscriber to his monthly newsletter, and he says that this book is doing fantastic. There's 2 volumes to it. The one I picked has more objects in it than the other one, which I think has floral animals. I know it has snails. That's even one of the animals called out, or critters, I would call that. So I picked the one that's more object-oriented, and of course this one has dragons in it. So far, I am liking the paper. It does have images only on the one side, but I suspect, because of the feel of the paper, that if you tried to do any wet mediums, it'll bleed and buckle the paper. So I've actually ordered a workable fixative, and then I'm going to also order it's a medium, I think it's applied by a paintbrush, that should also shore up this very toothy, absorbive. It's so absorbent feeling being in Florida, and it's been raining, that this book felt wet after the rain. All right, so there's some cute roses. So it has been, I'm going to sharpen this. These greens are very dull. I would say of all pencils, these are the ones I use the most. I do a lot of practice work for the group and then color with them in the coloring group, which is 4 classes a month. So they get used. I'm going to start with green is the color, green. I think it's my darkest. There's a bluey green called pine green. We have 3 different leaf shapes. These long, slender leaves are all going to be this color as the core, and then I've got that shape of leaf, and then this little, I don't know what that is, just a little, kind of looks like a bird of paradise. I could make it bird of paradise colored. That is a woodpecker, if you heard that, on our house, probably on the eaves somewhere. So these Prangs are officially the pencils I use the most. I just really think that they are a bargain for how well they work. You are very limited on your pigment. They only go down so much, but they feel, you know, I use a lot of pencils, and they feel just like any other nice hard pencil. They aren't even the hardest pencil that I own. That goes to the Uragetin. All right, so that is one shade. I do have this one other shade of green that would be very different. It is this color called moss green, but it is pretty light. And then I also am going to grab a yellow green. So there's the yellow green. It's very similar to sage green. So here's the barrels. Can't trust the barrels as usual. That is to be expected with budget pencils. So yeah, see, this is a blue green. So if I grab pine green, what's this color here? So you really do have, out of the 50, this is a Prang 50 set. You have a blue green, you have a limey green, and you have one moss green that you can carefully mix in. You could probably use, there's two grays, there's some browns, so you could get three different green tones with the 50 set. So that was super fast. Done. Now I want to do vases. Boy, what color do I want to do them? I'm going to grab what's a color called a rosewood. It's not quite a brown. This is rosewood. It's like a brick red, I would say. And I only have one of this color that I can then take. Here's a dark brown, which is sepia. And that'll be my shadow. My light source, as you can see, I'm making on the right, which for whatever reason, I seem to always do. You can see how toothy this paper is, and I am going to do some light layering. See how well I can get along with shading. These actually burnish to a bright, a glossy finish. Like any other nice pencil does. I'm going to grab the salmon-y color. This was used up in the Peach, it's what it's called. So I am excited to have my coloring week with my mom complete and in the books, so I can get back to some more focused coloring on the channel. So you see the tooth in here. I am trying to fill that tooth in. It's getting a sort of a mottled appearance. But because it's so toothy, I can't really get it to look smooth. So that is just going to be the combination of your pencils with this paper. So I will be doing other images with, we got the Brit Funeral flower boxes. All right, I'm going to do this vase here, this planter. I'm going to start with the base of this peach, but we are going to make it also rosewood colored. Add a little bit. So we're doing our 3 blend combo. If we want to see, are these 3 colors. So I'm going in with the sepia to do a little shadowing. Patience, light layering. I still see the tooth. I feel like this is so newsprint-ish that I could tear through it if I'm not careful. Let's get a little bit of the sepia here on the outside. I'm actually thinking of bringing in Langu. These will be gold. And then I wanted to do light wood. So I am grabbing the tangerine as a light wood element, and then I have cocoa. Not sure if I want to use sienna, very orange, so this could be my blend for the woods. So one of the tricks is where it's shadowy, I'm not putting any of that tan because I want there to be some paper for the pigment to grab onto. Here's that middle tone. So as soon as I finish this, I'm going to go get the Languos. And then I will also prep. We'll do the Amazon Basics because that's a nice small case that's right near me. And then we'll get started on the Amazon Basics, and then I'll pull out the giant Brut Funer flower box case of 520 pencils. I've never gone out and added up. I showed on my last video when I did my haul from April that I have more pencils, they were chalk pencils, that I don't even include on the channel because they're just small random sets, and I have quite a few random things like that, sets like that, so I'm not really sure how many thousands of pencils I own. All right, let's get in there. So I see where this paper, when you burnish, it gets shiny, but I still see some tooth. It's very toothy. That's the way the first paper was that we colored, my mom and I, we colored the rabbit or hair, and it was way too toothy. So we both like the Bristol Smooth way better. All right, I'm going to go away now, and we'll come back with some gel pens and our next set. All right, I am back. I've actually done a whole bunch of things in between departing to go get the Langu and the Amazon Basics out, and in the meantime I'm back here, have set everything back up, and I'm not fond of the pot colors, so I want to change the color with you guys. I have grabbed this darker color. It's a violet, and I want to see what that will do. We already have red and green and yellow and brown, so we have all warm tones. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a glaze of this purple over the top to hopefully give it a bluish purple tint. This is one of my favorite parts of colored pencils versus using markers, which was my previous coloring medium. I can way more easily manipulate the colors, I can erase, and I can alter colors. I could even erase this if I was really not wanting to work with the base of the rosewood tone. I'm just using lightish pressure, light to medium. And remember, this lighter tone here is actually peach. So the spine is a little bit unwieldy. The book is so small that, so this page, the bottom half, I can't really clip down, so you will have to play a little bit with the format of the physical book to try to get comfortable. I also decided gold wasn't going to work because the whole picture is warm and I'm trying to cool down the tones a little bit. So I like that a lot better now that I'm back here looking at the image. I also want to grab, I have to flip to the other side. I'm going to take sepia. So on this area here in this little triangle, I was telling you to put down lighter to no color in areas if you want to go over with a different color, because right here in this corner, the whatever the previous color was, probably this sienna, I think. So I'm trying to put sepia over the top of sienna. Oh no, sorry, tangerine. Over the top of tangerine, and I'm getting a resistance because the tooth is full. So just because this is a toothy paper doesn't mean that it's going to take more layers. It in fact does not take a lot of layers. I was trying to get the box a little less orange and have it have more contrast. All right, that's good enough. I've got my Langu highlight. The pen, the set is .056, it says. It's hard, I'm having a hard time reading it. It's 056 or 058. And I am, in fact, I will look right here. I have my swatches. I did finish, I already shared these swatches with you. I opted for very small swatches held in a baseball card 3-ring binder sheet. And on the back here is my silver 0561. That is so weird because I swear that says 056. I'm going to have to investigate that. You guys all saw that, right? .056. And I have 561 here, and I will have to be playing with that because my range of numbers goes from 551 to 569. And 561 is the highlights. But that says 056. Maybe I've caught a typo. All right, I have another set, a backup set of these. I will go pull that box out and look on its highlights set. In the meantime, we want to get to coloring. This is a rather large space to fill in. They are a very nice gel pen. I probably needed to have put the white little accent, little highlight mark toward the front, where that highlight mark is. I now have light gray. We'll use the warm gray. Here's the warm gray. And then we'll move on to see how the Amazon Basics feel. You see a little line here, that might have been me. So this paper is easily indented. My mother learned about indenting using too much pressure on the Bristol Smooth, so that is something to always be watchful of. All right, so that is that image. I'm going to pause a sec. I'm going to get set back up, put all these away, and set up with the Amazon Basics. So I went ahead and decided I was going to investigate the number of the silver Langu highlight. So I now have, here is the one I was looking at that I couldn't quite tell if it was 056, but that last vertical line is indeed a 1. It is easier to see here that it's 0561, even though I write 561, 558, 559, and then here's the white one, which you can't see very well. So the gold one helped clarify for me. Oh, that's nice right there. That, yes, these are correct. It is not a knockoff set. I have not then pulled my second box that has all 18. I bought them all together as my backup. I've decided not to do the moped with the Amazon Basics for purely selfish reasons. I love the Britfuner flower boxes, and between the skull image and the moped image, I think the moped image is more interesting. So I'm sitting here with my Amazon Basics. They live in a purple container. In the interest of sharing more this season, for coloring, I have a purple 72 slot case, and I have an index sheet that tells me the numbers. The numbers I actually typed in. Usually they're 1 through whatever, but because the numbering is in order, it was easy for me to go ahead and do an autofill for the numbers. And then I wrote in the name. So we've got this crazy, I guess I would call it like a southwestern image. So it's going to be pretty boring, but let's just pull out some greens. Now this particular pencil set is a 72. And the blendability of these is not anywhere near as good as even the Prangs. It'll be a good test. Prangs are one of my favorites for a budget. These budget pencils I bought as my very first budget set of pencils because I was following Chris Chen videos, tutorials, and she used Prismacolor. So I bought 3 sets. The Amazon Basics, Britfuner Squares, and the Britfuner Macarons, all to work together, and I was able to use those for all but 13 of the Prismacolor pencils. Of course, that was a long time ago, and now I own Prismacolors, but I'm going to do, for this large leafy green, I'm going to make it olivey. We'll see how that goes. I do sort of have the swatches here. The light color says it's mustard, and it is mustard. The olive green is the middle color. I'm actually cheating and looking at the index sheet I was sharing with you. And then moss green. So we'll see how those 3 go. these are a large core compared to the Prang, since I have the Prangs right here. These probably are the closest cost comparable. So you see on the right here is my Amazon Basics, and the left is the Prang. And the cost differential, the Amazon Basics I bought on sale, the 72 set, I think I paid $13 at the most, at the very most. And I ended up with a 24, I don't know, for $6 maybe. And the Prangs you can get for $6. It's a 50 set. So for me, those are very comparable price-wise. But for pigment and the volume of pigment, you're going to get way more pigment than the Amazon base. I mean, with the Amazon Basics. Moss green is my darkest color. These feel on this paper way more resistant. You know, they're not like a flowy, smooth feel. Tooth is very toothy. That is the same. I would call these way softer than the Prang. All right, moving on to olive green. So that was the moss green, this is the olive green, this is 544. The numbering system starts at 501, I believe. Yeah, I'm going to actually try, I think, a blender pencil, depending on how this goes. Trying to fill in the tooth. And then the last is the mustard, which is 551. And I knew there was going to be a big jump between the olive and the mustard. I will try to make sure we're focused, because now I've got this a big ½ inch drop off. I might, yeah, it's just not going to work. I'm doing a much softer layer, extending out well into the mustard zone. And then we'll see if we can get them to blend it. These pencils, for me, I don't think of them as a fantastic blending type pencil. You can kind of layer them over each other, but they don't just smoosh together. See, and what I'm seeing is that the yellow, the mustard yellow, is filling in to the tooth, but it's not mixing with the olive color at all. There's my, I've got the edge of my, see back here I have my little hard surface, and you can see where I was coloring along the edge of it right there. That's kind of an interesting look, but certainly not a blended look. Going back to the olive, I see some tooth like right here, and that's actually a scratch of some sort, probably put down by me. As I get more layer, and we've pretty much saturated the surface with pigment, I'm starting to get crumbs. See, and I actually like the stippled look. This pot up here has that same sort of, it's like the colors aren't blended, they're just layered on top of each other, and that is what this plant is looking like. The root funer squares will have a more blended look than a layered look. I think it's a nice treatment. I actually like it. All right, now I'm going to go back through, since I've added an interim layer. Of the olive. This is the mustard. All right, I left a little bit of white on the tips. I'm going to make sure these get set. I did not put my Prang pencils away. They are sitting in the cup. So I'll get a second cup. So when I'm all done with filming, I have the pencils out. In this case, I didn't even make a copy of this, by the way, because my purpose for coloring in this page was to get to know the paper. Making a copy of it and having doing some sample coloring wasn't really what I was after. So I am coloring with these pencils for the first time actually on the paper, so I can talk through it. This, I'm gonna say that that's a boulder. So I'm gonna go to grays. There's a lovely array of grays. We have a blue gray even, called blue gray. Warm gray, dark gray, slate gray, that's also a blue gray, silver gray, and then this light gray. They have not been sharpened, I believe, This particular one, I believe, has never been sharpened. This one has been sharpened. There we go. So the light gray has been sharpened and the silver gray has not. Then there's this wonderful, beautiful slate gray that's super dark. So I'm going to try that for my set of blends. The slate gray looks almost black. I actually really like this color. I would prefer... Every 120 set had a slate gray. So let's start with that slate gray. I'm just going in light pressure ovals. This almost looks like an accordion of sorts. Staying in the nooks and crannies, darkening as much as I can. I'm seeing that these, I have a difficult time filling in the tooth all the way. Without sharpness, so that was unsharpened. I mean, it was sharpened, but I did not sharpen it again. So this silver gray is virtually untouched. I think all I see is a slight angle right there. That little angle on the left is from the swatch that I did. These feel quite crayon-like at this point. I can see this is a much warmer gray than the slate gray. I have the lightest color, which is light gray 564. I'm going to take slate gray. Not sure what these are, just little texture circles, I guess. Kind of cute. So far, an interesting piece of art. All right. This silver gray I'm going to use to do some skull highlights. Sorry about the shaking. I am plugging my camera in. Love the little heart for his nose hole. All right, and then I get to come up with a color for I'm making those flowers. I don't know what they are. But to give us some more color choices, I will go ahead and go with flowers. And because we did red roses up above, I'm going to go ahead and use these reds. There's actually quite a few red colors. I'm going to go ahead and share with you. In this, I have these three. Plus on the other side, I have coral red, carmine, and carmine red. So for a 72 set, this has a lot of red tones. We will use a hot pink. So I will show you, I was liking this color right here to be my like salmon-y color that I used, similar to the rose up here has the 3 tones. So I just picked barrels that looked like the 3 tones. However, look at the tips. That is hot pink, that is burgundy, and that is red. So I'm going to put the hot pink that has the barrel that doesn't really match back. We will go with a different pink. I'm going to go with salmon. Actually is the color I want. The barrel is not all that different, but it's quite fleshy. I picked a geranium. Yes, I did. All right, and then the coral red. I'm not sure if I need to go this deep, but I am also going to grab a color here called claret. I know I'm taking longer because I usually pre-pick my colors, but I thought it would be fun to just be more spontaneous. Those are my 4 colors. I'm going to start with the claret. So the green and the gray, I said, felt like there was drag. And oftentimes with pencils, we will see that the different pigments that make up the colors feel different on the paper. And these actually are going down quite nice. You can see it's filling in the tooth way better than the gray colors and the green colors did. So that is very interesting. I'm going to say that that's going to be another little flower layer. All right. This is geranium red 511. I'm not sharpening this giant core. This is I believe it's a 4mm core. For all of my 72 sets, I think I like this one the least. Yeah, maybe not. I also have a hard time with Arteza. About the same kind of issues of them not blending nicely and not really layering nicely either, making it challenging. But I like the core size, and overall I like the color selection. Because this is the largest set that this comes in, I don't feel like somebody picked and chose the different color combos. This goes from red into orange. It's almost a sunset. Which is an example of why we want to pre-color our combos so we know what we're going to get. Filling in the tooth here, doing some burnishing back here on the darker colors before I go out to the edge. But this color combo Actually, I like it better how it feels. The red's nicely pigmented. So yeah, the Arteza sadly feel to me like somebody took from the 120 set and just picked colors, and many of them don't blend together from light to dark. They don't do the ombre thing very nicely at all. So I'm going to leave the tips white like I did the greens white. Because we want some more colors, I'm going to just put those aside. That was nice. I liked how that felt. That felt way better than the gray and green. Browns, I'm going to do the earth, this area here, brown, and then those rocky looking pebbles will be black. So colors, I don't really have good dark browns. The darkest I go is... No, that's not true. I have a dark chocolate. It really looks like a warm, deep gray. And a Van Dyke brown. Moving up to bark and burnt oak, brown ochre. So this dark chocolate that looks almost gray, I'm gonna see if I don't need it. So I get pretty dark. We've got brown ochre, bark, and Van Dyke brown. There's no true tan. There's a light ochre and an ochre. So we may... It just really looks like, this looks like mustard. This looks just like the barrel. So I'm not sure that that is going to fit the bill for me. And then I have a light ochre. So the barrel looks hardly any different. If I want to go any lighter, I've got burnt ochre that it's pretty orangey. We'll see. So I'm going to come along here with my darkest brown. So far this feels like the greens. I do actually like this kind of whimsical art with the skull, just kind of weird stuff. I actually like it. All right, there's my dark. Skipping that super dark chocolate. Yeah, dark chocolate we're skipping. Moving on to bark. Let's just see if we can get some of the tooth worked out. We've got to move our there. So I have the easel with the painting. I will be done with the set, the rotation sheet. Rotation number 8. I have been through every set of pencils I own and adding as I go, and I get more. 8 times now. I'm going to be beginning number 9. So I'm done with the bark. Moving on to we've got 2 ochres now, burnt ochre, brown ochre, then burnt ochre. I'm sort of commingling this orangey color in areas where I see tooth. I do really feel like I can go through this paper. If I am blurry today, I blame it on the spine. I'm gonna have to get better at dealing with the spine. I see lots of tooth. Maybe after I get all brands on, because I'm going to do, the crown might not be a separate brand. I might do the Brute Funer flower boxes on the top 2 images. And that'll be another episode. I may go back through this whole thing and use the blender pencil, at least on a portion, and see if I like the effect. All right, last but not least, grab a couple of grays. I liked that slate gray. This is the silver gray, but I wanted the light gray. So this is light gray. It might be too extreme of a difference. All right. So that does it for me today. Those are all of my thoughts on the Prang 50 up here. And moving on to the Amazon Basics 72. And tomorrow we will move on and do the moped. Let's see if I can show you the uppermost. And then there's a nice easel with a painting. And that can be the Brute Funer squares. Do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment. Consider subscribing, and I hope to see you all at the next one. Take care.